Thank you for attending today's press conference Zoom on a plan to phase out property taxes in the state of Florida. I'm Ryan Chamberlin, member of the House of Representatives, Florida District 24, Marion County. And let me give you a little backstory here. During the special election of 2023, I campaigned for and was elected on a platform of achieving property tax relief. Now, after being elected, one of the first bills that I proposed was the elimination of property taxes. And I also filed bills related to property tax relief in the 2025 legislative session as well. Now, along the way, I got help or worked with Senator Stan McClain, Speaker Paul Renner, then Senator Jay Collins, then Senator Blaise Ingoglia, and Senator Jonathan Martin. I've also met with the governor's office, and I know how important this issue is to Governor DeSantis. And I cannot thank our Speaker, Danny Perez, enough for making this a key issue as well. It's been an honor to serve on the Special Property Tax Committee that he set up, and the co-chairman, Rep. Toby Overdorf and Rep. Vicky Lopez, they're doing a phenomenal job. Now, the fact that so many are engaged on this topic shows what an important issue it has become in the midst of Florida's current affordability crisis. I firmly believe that now is the time to put Florida on the path to eliminating property taxes forever. And many would argue that this can't be done, that there's no way we can do it and still be able to fund our schools, public safety, and roads. This is just not true. But there is a political risk for me or anyone else who rolls out an actual plan, because immediately there's going to be those who organize opposition. So it's easy to talk about doing something about property taxes without ever getting specific about doing anything about it. But I'm convinced that we must have a starting point. We must have an initial plan that can be debated if we're ever going to get something done. So let me give you 3 big reasons why this is so critical. First reason, people have figured out that they never really own their own property. They're just always renting it from the government. And that's fundamentally wrong. And it's a violation of our right to private property and fundamental right of mankind. Second, property taxes are going up at a record rate with no end in sight, and many are paying these increases on unrealized gains, meaning that we're being taxed on what a bureaucrat estimates we should sell our property for in perfect market conditions, not the actual gain on any sale. This is absolutely not fair. Now, the third big reason is the current system has 2 levers for increasing tax revenues. They have these current situations of millage and value. Even when millage rates go down, it's possible for taxes to go up because values go up. This is deceptive for taxpayers, and it's the biggest reason why property tax revenues have grown almost 50% statewide just in the last 4 years. I could also add that the system is so complicated, most elected officials can't even explain it, and further add that it is a system that's not working for Florida's fiscally constrained counties, our rural counties. The truth is, it's not working for any of us. So today is about solutions. Now, let me be clear. I'm not speaking on behalf of the governor, the Speaker of the House, or the House Property Tax Committee. This is a plan I'm bringing forward as a starting point. And I'm calling this Freedom 123, Florida's Property Tax Replacement Plan. And here is how it works. So this plan consists of 3 specific actions to create revenue to replace property taxes. These 3 actions, are, number 1 of the Freedom 123 is a rollback plan. I'm going to break this down for you. Number 2 of Freedom 123 are transaction fees, what I call safety transaction fees. And number 3 is a 3-cent school sales transaction fee. I'm going to go through now and explain how all of this works. First of all, let's start with rollback. And let's also start with the number that we need to replace here. According to the Florida Department of Revenue, property tax revenues levied in 2024-2025 totaled $55.05 billion, and they're broken down as follows. We have $21.58 billion being collected in county non-school property tax levies. We have $21.45 billion being collected in county school property tax levies. We also have an additional $8.52 billion in municipal property tax levies and another $3.51 billion in special district property tax levies. Let's talk about these last two just for a second, because the municipal property tax levies, for now, I believe we can completely remove from our conversation the idea of replacing these right now. That is another decision for another day after we solve the state's part of the problem. Since a large portion of Florida does not even live in municipalities and they have an option of choosing to live in a city or a non-municipal area, we can tackle this portion in a different day, different time, different way. On the smaller number, the $3 billion number of special districts, I believe we can find other means of funding these special districts fairly easily. For instance, we could easily fund the water management district with a fee on bottled water, which would be appropriate. We've got things like community development districts, fire control districts, park districts, port and inlet districts. They can all be funded with other fees or consumption taxes. And very few of our population even lives in these districts. That's why it's the smallest number. So to be clear, my main focus for now is getting us to a plan for completely replacing the $43 billion in county, non-school, and school property tax levies. And my plan consists of one rollback and a revenue replacement plan. So let's talk about this for a second. This revenue replacement plan and rollback, again, the statewide average, why do we even need a rollback? Well, let's talk about it. The average is over 45% of our property taxes have increased just in the last several years. Most counties weren't anticipating this kind of increase, yet they're spending every single dollar that came in. And I'm not trying to get rid of the idea that we've had some inflation, but I absolutely don't like the idea of an unbridled quadruple inflation. And so that's a big reason for the rollback. Also, the rollback, which my legal counsel, they're telling me it would not even require a constitutional amendment to move us back to, for example, the 2022-2023 property tax levies. Now, this is a fair thing to do. Again, I'm not trying to roll us back to 2020, but I think rolling us back a couple of years with this abnormal amount of inflation is something that makes sense, it's fair, and certainly we know we can grow our state on these numbers. And here's what it looks like. It looks like instead of us levying $21.58 billion on non-school property taxes, we would roll it to $17.41 billion. Instead of us collecting $21.45 billion on county school property taxes, we would roll it to $17.05 billion for a total of $34.46 billion. And this is what we need to eliminate to virtually take care of both the non-school property tax levies and the county school property tax levies for the entire state. So that is number one of Freedom 1, 2, 3. Let's go to number two. Number two is how we actually can generate the revenue. It begins this. Last year, according to the Florida Association of Realtors, the state of Florida transacted over $225 billion in real estate transactions. We did this without any transaction fee, only a small amount of doc stamps. So what I'm proposing here is that we create a 5% transaction fee for all real estate sales. This would generate almost the first $12 billion needed for the non-school taxes. Let me give you an example of how this would work. What it really looks like is if someone were to buy a $300,000 home, they may need to finance or pay an extra $15,000 at closing. Again, they may need to finance or pay an extra $15,000 at closing. So this could be included in the finance. But this 5% one-time fee is in lieu of someone paying $3,000 to $5,000 a year the rest of their life. It can be financed or even negotiated at closing. I've even had now a few realtors talking with me about this, wondering if this would cause problems in real estate sales. I actually believe it will do just the opposite. Why? Because $15,000 on this particular example, financed over 30 years, is less than $100 a month. Yet it's eliminating several hundred, maybe up to $300, $400, $500 a month in property tax payments. This plan, my plan, actually allows people to afford more of a home and actually be more comfortable paying for their home than what we're currently dealing with today. Therefore, I believe it's going to do tremendous things for real estate. They're actually going to be able to afford more. So there's the first transaction fee. Part two of Freedom 123, there's 2 transaction fees here for safety. And this second transaction fee is involving public safety transaction within the travel space. And I believe this fee right here will absolutely stabilize our rural counties in a tremendous way if we do this right. Let me give you a little bit of data here. There's 140 million travelers coming in and out of Florida each and every year. They're all spending money inside of the state of Florida, and we're happy about that. Last year, Florida generated $39.3 billion in hotel rooms and in Airbnb type properties. We generated $10.7 billion in rental cars and rideshare type Ubers or Lyfts. We also generated $25.5 billion in amusement park sales, ticket sales. Just adding a 5% safety surcharge onto this would generate another $3.8 billion to go directly off of our taxpayer citizens' home ownership property tax bill. Why is this important? Well, when these 140 million people travel to our state, let's say they get in trouble, let's say they get in an accident, they're calling on our sheriff's departments. They're calling on our fire departments. Yet the homeowners in Florida are footing that bill. They're paying for the bill currently. These travelers are not participating in helping cover some of their safety when they're in Florida visiting. This 5% relatively will be small to them added to their transactions, but it will do a big thing across the state of Florida to help us become property tax free. Here is the next piece that I want to talk about. So those are the 2 out of the Freedom 1, we're going to roll back. Freedom 2, we're going to add 2 transactional safety taxes to cover the things that are important for us. And this last one is a 3-cent school sales fee. Now, I don't consider this like a traditional sales tax. Why? Because it's not going to general revenue. This will go specific to our school system and allow everyone, whether they own a home or not, allow anyone in the state of Florida, including the people that are traveling here, to help pay for our schools. This could be one of the biggest tax breaks that our Florida citizens have had because we're now running this across everyone and not just the homeowners. This would give us at least $20 billion statewide to completely help replace the required local effort of school property taxes in our state. The state already collects property taxes and redistributes them according to per pupil funding. So they have this formula already set in place. Here's what it could look like. It could look like a 2-cent statewide fee on all transactions. And we could give every district the option of levying up to 1 cent more to cover any gaps. And what this really does is it allows the local elected officials, local control, to have a say-so on where some of the school funding and some of this particular fee goes. Why? Because 67 counties, they're all different. They all have different needs. They all have different sizes. We want to keep local involvement, happening here within this plan. This adds an additional $20 billion. Each cent roughly produces $6.85 billion here in the state of Florida and growing because our economy is growing. So roughly this will scale as we need more and more schools. So there you have it, my friends. You have Freedom 123, Florida's property tax replacement plan. Now, certainly, and let me stop sharing my screen here. Certainly there's more data coming in. And there's other ideas out there. You could say that I've been being asked for quite a while now, how are we going to place the revenue? So today I'm giving an answer. It's called Freedom 123. And this plan puts us directly on the road toward eliminating all property taxes for homestead and non-homestead properties. But let me say this. If we just want to eliminate the homestead property taxes in the state of Florida, then take everything I've said and just make it even simpler. We could do that. But don't let anyone tell you that this can't be done. Florida is already known as the freest state in the country. We've been named the top state in the economy in the nation. If we do this, no one's going to be able to touch us. And we will be the first state in the country to take a dramatic step toward eliminating the most hated tax in America. Florida can be the first state in the country where you can actually own your own home. Florida can also be the first state in the country to say, we're not afraid of what's hard. Let's do what's right. Now, again, I'm sure that if you all write about this plan, there are going to be a number of voices tomorrow coming out trying to poke holes in the plan. And that's a great start. We need a substantive debate. But what they have here now is a set of core ideas for replacing property taxes. And I'm convinced that if we engage in debate, we will get this done. As for my next steps, I'll be filing legislation to address the rollback in the upcoming legislative session, and I'm very hopeful that we can begin dealing with the school portion replacement this year as well. I want to thank you for attending this press conference, and I now would like to open it up for some questions and answers.